Hello, everyone. A little bit later than scheduled. It was going to be a start, an earliest ever Silverstone start, I think, for 8:40, but the fog thwarted that. But from the way in which the mist and fog is now lifting, it does rather begin to look as though the cars will be coming out very shortly for the first race. Now, of course, this is going to impact on the schedule for the day. So precisely how that will play out, we'll have to wait and see. But the order of events is meant to be the Porsche Sprint Challenge Race 1 is the first one we're going to have today. It'll be followed by the second of the weekend's BRDC British Formula 3 Championship races, the one with the reverse grid. That's a 20-minute race maximum. The Porsche Sprint Challenge race is scheduled for 25 minutes. Then after that, we've got the warm-up session for the Intelligent Money British GT Championship drivers of 15 minutes. And then we've got the second of the Ginetta GT5, Prototype Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge races. That we had one yesterday, and that's a championship to be decided today, scheduled to be a 25-minute race. But we then have to fit in the act of remembrance with the 2-minute silence at 11 o'clock, and that's sacrosanct. So officialdom will have to work its way around that requirement. That's at 11 o'clock with a build-up to that. And laying of flags and so on, and carrying of the flags down the pit lane. That's all from about 10 to 11 until about 10 past 11. And then the second of the Porsche races, the Porsches are being brought out now. The second of the Porsche races is scheduled for 10 past 11. The third of the weekend's BRDC British Formula 3 Championship races is 10 to 12. There is a lunch break, but that may be a non-existent event now. We'll see what the revised schedule is going to be. And then the start time for the 3R Silverstone 500 Intelligent Money British GT Championship race was going to be 10 to 1. But we'll see. Of course, darkness will descend. Well, magically, almost, as the cars come out, it's been getting better and better. My view from the commentary box looking across towards Luffield has been getting better. I can see the whole of Luffield now. It's almost as if as the cars come out, that's proved possible. My name's Ian Titchmarsh, talking to you from the commentary position, which overlooks the National Pit Straight, which is the pits that are in use today, and also Woodcote Corner, and see now across towards Luffield and Brooklands. Over at Beckett's for today, is Alistair Douglas. Alistair, good morning.
Good morning, Ian. Yes, and because it's the Grand Prix circuit, my Beckett's commentary box also gives me a good view of Village and the Loop and all that section. And yes, magically this end of the circuit is now clearing very, very quickly. It's almost as though somebody's put a big fan on somewhere and it's all blowing away. So we've got, we can now see the bridge on the Wellington Straight, and I can also see the wing and the new hotel. Not Stowe yet, but that'll no doubt emerge from the mist shortly.
Yes, right. Well, it's going to be a safety car start to the race. I'll give you the grid positions in a moment, but they're lining up as if it was going to be a grid start, but it's going to be a safety car start.
It's also a 20-minute race.
And the screen has changed to 20 minutes. Yes, when I last looked, it was 25. That was 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So this is the order in which they have qualified, and there's a championship to be decided here over the two races today, although the main rival to the championship leader, James Dorlin, Tom Jackson, hasn't been able to find the funds to repair his car after the previous round at Croft, so he's not taking part. So it's not a foregone conclusion that James Dorlin's going to win the championship, this new championship for this year, the Cayman Islands Porsche Sprint Challenge GB, but it is distinctly probable that James will win it. But he doesn't start on pole position. On pole position is Dino Zamparelli, brought in to stand in, as it were, for Archie Hamilton, who's been driving that car all year, but has got a back problem. So Dino Zamparelli is driving the car instead of him, but Dino can't score points. He qualified at 2 minutes 9.487. Yesterday, it was dry all the way through. The track was a bit damp to begin with, but by the time the Porsches were out qualifying, it was dry. So these are representative of the sort of tyres we're going to be seeing once the race gets underway. So 88 Dino Zamparelli is going to be the lead car, and that makes life, of course, easier for him because he can't be overtaken until they get past the green flag. The car's now setting off on their safety. This will be included in the race distance, will it? No, at the moment it still shows 20 minutes. It's not counting down. So 88 Dino Zamparelli, and with him at the front, number 32 is the championship leader, James Dorlin, qualifying at 2 minutes 9.954, just half a second slower than Dino. Third on the grid is 54 Theo Edgerton, who has an outside chance of winning the championship, but it's very much an outside chance. It really depends upon James Dorlin not finishing either of the races. So Theo Edgerton, 2 minutes 10.516 in car 54. And fourth on the grid, another newcomer to the series, but not a newcomer to us. He's raced and won the Ginetta GT Super Cup a couple of years ago. Charlie Laydell. He qualified in car number 9 at 2 minutes 10.838. So 54 and 9 are third and fourth. Fifth is 27 Ian Humphries, leader of the AM category. 2 minutes 11.559 was his time in car number 27. And sixth on the grid, number 8, Adam Knight, another newcomer to the series. He qualified at 2 minutes 11.622. 27 and 8 are fifth and sixth. Seventh, 55 Daniel O'Brien. 2 minutes 11.896, a late entry Daniel O'Brien was, but here he is. 2 minutes 11.896 in car 55, and eighth is 51 Ambrogio Perfetti, who qualified at 2 minutes 12.554. 55 and 51, seventh and eighth. Ninth is number 3 Mike Price, with a qualifying time of 2 minutes 12.613, and 10th number 5 Peter Chambers, 2 minutes 12.813. 3 and 5, ninth and 10th. 11th is 22 Carl Cavers, whose best qualifying time was at 2 minutes 12.845, and 12th number 66 John Westbrook, who qualified at 2 minutes 13.787. 22 and 66, 11th and 12th. 13th is 15 Nigel Rice, 2 minutes 13.929, and 14th, having his first race in a modern car, is Charlie March, the son of the Duke of Richmond and Gordon, who we used to know as Charles March, when he before he inherited his father's title. And so it's the grandson of the Earl of March, or the Duke of Richmond and Gordon, the son of the current Duke of Richmond and Gordon, if you're following this. 2 minutes 14.246 by number 7, Charlie March. 15 and 7, 13th and 14th. 15th is 56, Simon Green, 2 minutes 14.383. And 16th, number 99, is Andrei Borodin, qualifying at 2 minutes 17.408. 56 and 99, 15th and 16th. And if you want to know more about Andrei Borodin, as far as I know, he's not related to the composer Alexander Borodin, but he's well worth looking up on the internet. And last on the grid is 77 Charles Clark, who didn't get a qualifying time in. So the car's going around for another lap behind the safety car. So they've had one lap, and I think this is probably going to start the countdown of the 20 minutes that the race has been reduced to anyway. And does it start counting down? Not yet. Still showing 20 minutes. But normally you'd get one unincluded safety car lap, followed by this being part of the race, but of the race time, but at the moment it's not. So they're going round for another lap. The point situation in the championship sorry about that, nothing to do with me, but hopefully it could be, well, it's gone away, that shattering noise in the ears is a bit of a shock. Yes, the point situation in the championship is that James Dorlin has 93 points, and there's 20 points for a win. Tom Jackson, not able to race, has 79 points. He's been the biggest rival to James Dorlin this year, had 4 wins. James has had 6 wins. And then Theo Edgerton, lying in third place in the championship, is in the race, and he's got 58 points. So if he had a maximum of 20 points per race, that's going to give him an extra 40 to add to 58, gives him 98. So he could get ahead of James Dorlin by 5 points if he won both races and James didn't finish either in the points. So that's what it looks like. We're going to be seeing a lot of James Dorlin today because he's going to be racing in the British GT Championship finale as well, in which he raced throughout last year. So the cars are going to come back to the grid, and it's not going to be Although we were told it's going to be a safety car start, it now looks as though they're going to line up on the grid ready for a grid start. The TV pictures showing, and Alistair can probably confirm this, your view, your fog is lifting by the second, probably.
Yes, the grandstands at Stowe have now appeared from the gloom, but it's still very evident, the fog, but rather nicely, the sun is starting to, I'm sure you can see it as well,
yes,
just starting to cut through the fog a little bit.
I'll be watching that and encouraging it as best I can.
Yes, and then you'll be moaning about not being able to see the cars because the sun's in your eyes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's going to hopefully...
Don't know what that's all about.
No.
You were having that as well, were you?
Yes, exactly the same, yes, yeah. But hopefully if the sun does continue to burn through, it'll clear the fog very quickly. But no wind at all, it's so still.
It is, isn't it? Right, well, it isn't a safety car start because the safety car's headed into the pit lane and the cars are being brought up to the... So that was a bit of information that we had it unofficially, but what they had was 2 green flag laps to acclimatise themselves to the conditions, and they're now coming up to the grid. So Dino Zamparelli, who has not done much racing this year, but twice was runner-up in the Porsche Carrera Cup GB, and was successful also in single-seaters before he took to Porsche racing, and has also raced in the what used to be called the VLN on the Nordschleife at the Nürburgring. So an experienced driver, Dino, first came to prominence. He won the first ever Ginetta Junior Championship, however long ago that was. So the car's now back in position. And on pole position, Dino Zamparelli. James Dorlin, who almost won the Renault Clio Championship. In fact, he had won it when they left Silverstone, but then an appeal was successful by another driver, and that cost him the championship. But James, for the last couple of years, has raced in GT cars of one sort or another, and has concentrated this year. The lights go out and the cars accelerate towards Copse Corner with Dino Zamparelli and James Dorlin in front. And it is going to be, as they turn in, Dino Zamparelli in the lead as they go out of Copse, up the brow towards Maggots. We've got one car already going awry, but the camera's cut away from that. So back with the leaders and you, Alistair.
Well, it's Theo Edgerton in the lead. Went round the outside of Dino Zamparelli on the run-up to Beckett's Corner. So, and pulling away from Zamparelli. In third place is not Dorlin, it's Charlie Liddell. Sorry, Duncan, you're helpfully writing this all down for me. And Dorlin was in fourth place. So it was Edgerton from Zamparelli, from Liddell and Dorlin, and then in fifth place Humphries, and in sixth place Ambrogio Perfetti has come all the way up from eighth, the leading Am.
And sliding sideways there as they make their way through Stowe, which is the orange car. But anyway, that was straightened out, but everybody's still pointing in the right direction. But we've had already on this opening lap a couple of incidents, shall we say, but nothing terribly serious. The car's coming out of Club Corner now, heading past the wing pits. Theo Edgerton it is, with that distinctive yellow. It's a bit of sort of Swedish type colours over the stripe over that car, yellow and blue. Back into your side, Alistair.
Well, I don't know whether Theo Edgerton's got some trick of tyres or something, but he's just amazing. He's pulling away. It's Dorlin now in second place. Third is Zamparelli. Fourth is now Liddell, as they come through. Edgerton from Dorlin, from Zamparelli, from Liddell, and in fifth place Ian Humphries, who's the leading Am. Where's Ambrogio Perfetti gone? He's slow through the loop, so perhaps I missed it looking the other way. He maybe had a spin at Village, and another spinner now going backwards, just misses the barriers. One of the mid to number 7, Charlie March.
Charlie March, yes.
Yeah, he's okay. He's not hit anything, but he'll be way off the back.
But he can carry on.
Yes,
by the sound of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So through they come at the end of the second lap of the first lap, and it's in the lead then. Theo Edgerton leads over the line from James Dorlin in second place. Dino Zamparelli is third. Charlie Liddell fourth. Ian Humphries is fifth, leading the AMS. And behind him, up into sixth place, has come number 22, Carl Cavers. Behind Carl Cavers, we've got Peter Chambers. Then Nigel Rice, number 15, is eighth. Ninth is number 3, Mike Price. And in 10th place is Daniel O'Brien. And down the pit lane comes number 51, Ambregio Perfetti.
So it was a problem, not a spin then from Perfetti.
Seems like it.
Yeah, it's a shame because I mean he's still strong leader in the AM class, but needed to have a good finish. We did have yellow flags at. In fact, I think we've still got the snatch vehicles out.
This will be number 8, Adam Knight, who's not come through.
So that's Copse Corner. Meantime, at the front, it was still Theo Edgerton, James Dorlin in second place, and Zamparelli third, Liddell fourth. No change in the order from you.
Well, Theo Edgerton is certainly going all out to try and snatch the championship at the last gasp. He's got this race and the next one to come to take maximum points, and he could just overhaul James Dorlin. Well, James Dorlin, that would depend upon James not scoring any points, of course, and at the moment he's on course for second place points at worst. Back with you, Alistair.
Just waiting for them, not quite through over yet,
right.
But they'll be here shortly. Yes, here they are now, and it looks to be still, yes, it is the yellow flash of Theo Edgerton's car comes into Village. Dorlin is now under pressure from Zamparelli, who seems to have woken up from a fairly tardy start for him, and he's challenging as they go into the loop. In fourth place is Charlie Liddell, and then in fifth place Ian Humphries going very well as they go out onto the Wellington Straight once again. No real pressure on Edgerton at all, and Dorlin is slightly pulling away as they go down the Wellington Straight from Zamparelli in third.
Good battle going on lower down the order. Mike Price's green car heavily involved with Nigel Rice. That's for 8th and 9th place. Price and Rice together. The leaders then going into Luffield for the second time. Has Perfetti rejoined? I think he may have done. Anyway, the leaders coming out of Luffield through a now very clear part of the circuit down here. No fog at all as they go past the pits then. Theo Edgerton leads this time by more than he did last time. 1.3 seconds is his lead. Zamparelli third, Charlie Liddell fourth. And then Ian Humphries, best of the AMS, going very well in fifth place, number 27, ahead of Carl Cavers.
Well, the yellow flag's in now at Copse, so efficiently cleared. Good battle, as you say, for second place, and then we'll look a bit further back when the mid-pack battle comes through. But Theo Edgerton still ahead. Then it's Dorlin, Zamparelli and Liddell as they go out of Copse. And in fact, now it's Zamparelli's coming under pressure from Liddell as they go down onto the Hanger Straight and disappear down. In fact, the fog not lifting that quickly down this side of the circuit. Still quite foggy down towards Stowe.
Well, they've got them coming into Stowe now, and Theo Edgerton still leads the way in car 54. James Dorlin 32 second, 88 Dino Zamparelli in third place. Be keen not to compromise the battle for the championship, but would like to get past both of them to try and confirm that he has the pace of the others, having taken pole position. But at the moment, Dino Zamparelli under considerable pressure from Charlie Liddell, the Ginetta Super Cup champion from 2 years ago, challenging now as they come up towards Abbey. But Theo Edgerton's lead, I would say, Alistair, is larger than it was last time you saw him.
It certainly looks that way, and I think that's partly because Dorlin now is under huge pressure once again from Zamparelli. It seems that that section of the circuit, the bit from sort of Stowe round to Village, Zamparelli is quicker than Dorlin, and then it seems to be the other way when I see them at Beckett's. But the second place battle now is absolutely joined as Dorlin comes through Aintree, Zamparelli right behind him, and Liddell looking for a way through past Zamparelli. Zamparelli runs out onto the curbing and kicks up some spray, so it must still be quite wet there. Then we've got quite a big gap back to the sixth place car, Carl Cavers, number 22.
Apart from the first lap spinner into retirement, number 8, Adam Knight, everybody else still circulating. Perfetti has rejoined after a conversation with his pit crew. The leaders coming through Woodcote then, and Theo Edgerton completes lap 3, leading from James Dorlin. And the gap up to 2 seconds now, so Theo Edgerton's pace is well ahead of the rest. His fastest lap, 2 minutes 22.567. So yes, the track must be still damp, as you suggested, Alistair, because the lap times are a fair bit slower than they did on a dry track yesterday in qualifying. No change in the order of the first 5 then. Back with you.
And a very good battle indeed it is now for second place, because that side of the circuit, normally Dorlin's a few car lengths ahead, but he's not this time. He's got Zamparelli and Liddell right behind him, and I think when you see them at Stowe, you'll find Liddell perhaps having a nibble at Zamparelli for third.
Well, this year Theo Edgerton has had several second places, 1, 2, 3, 4 second places, but he hasn't had a win. But the way he's driving at the moment, you wonder why not, because he really is going very strongly indeed. Former Ginetta Junior racer, and is certainly dominating this race. 2 seconds after just 3 laps. Remember, it's a 20-minute race, not 25 minutes. 11 minutes and 45 seconds remain. And the cars coming out of club then in that battle for second place, in which there's no change in the order. Still James Dorlin ahead of the battle for second place, but out in the lead, turning into Abbey now for the 4th time, is young Theo Edgerton.
Makes his way through Farm and up towards the tight section at Village and the Loop. And second place Dorlin doesn't need to go defensive because Zamparelli is not close enough, but Zamparelli needing to keep very much an eye on his mirrors for Charlie Liddell, who's snapping at his heels everywhere possible. Edgerton goes through Aintree. Dorlin once again a little bit quicker through that section than Zamparelli, who's now under pressure again from Liddell. So will Liddell have a go down into Brooklands on this lap? Just
getting a replay on the Hayfisher coverage of the start of the race, and Perfetti just didn't move. The car gets away dead last. It wasn't last on the grid, but it was last into Copse Corner. Anyway, back with real time. Lap 4 coming to an end. Theo Edgerton leading. He's still only 16 years of age, young Theo, so doing very, very well, dominating the race. And a challenge being mounted for third place there. So James Dorlin is still second, but Charlie Liddell really putting the pressure now to try and find a way around Dino Zamparelli up into third place, but Dino still has the position. Ian Humphries leads the AMS in 5th place. Then we've got a nice little battle for second place of the AMS between Carl Cavers and Peter Chambers. Peter Chambers, the veteran, 72, 73 years of age, and is there in 7th place, third in the AM class.
Charlie Liddell's effort to get past Dino Zamparelli didn't work, as he's still there in 4th place as they head off through towards Chapel and onto the Hanger Straight. Still very close though for that 2nd, 3rd and 4th places. And there goes Pete Chambers, as you say, 3rd and 2nd in the AMS. Carl Cavers, 6th place overall.
Last time around, Theo Edgerton did another new best lap of the race, a 2:22.381, but James Dorlin almost as quick in the final sector, if not quicker indeed. That was quicker than anybody, the final sector of the previous lap. They're now on the 5th lap, and we've got 9 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. And they're coming, that trio contesting third place through. And do we get a change there? Yes, Charlie Liddell got through at club. So you'll see that Charlie Liddell is now into third place and is about to set about James Dorlin, I think. But anyway, Dino Zamparelli down to 4th, as you'll see in a moment.
Yes, indeed, as they come through Farm. So can Charlie Liddell now have a go at James Dorlin? Liddell feels he needs to go a little bit defensive into Village just to stave off the Zamparelli return effort at the tight right-hander there, but it doesn't change. So it's now Dorlin, Liddell, Zamparelli, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Pete Chambers has got ahead of Carl Cavers by the looks of it as they come into the Loop. So Humphries still leading the AMS in 5th place overall. Next up, it's Pete Chambers.
And the leader is at Luffield. So Theo Edgerton looking very solid in the lead now. 2.5 seconds was his advantage at the start of this lap over James Dorlin in 2nd place. James now having to focus on his mirrors, but he knows 2nd place will give him the championship. So Theo Edgerton goes through, completing 5 laps. James Dorlin in 2nd place, 3.6 seconds. So he's dropping back. Theo Edgerton's lead getting larger, and that was another second, partly not just because James Dorlin's going more slowly, but because Theo Edgerton is going more quickly. That's another new fastest lap, 2:21.628. But of course, as the track conditions improving, not yet as good as they were for qualifying yesterday, but the track is getting quicker and quicker. And Theo Edgerton's lead is now 3.6 seconds. And I think you said Pete Chambers was ahead of Carl Cavers. You're right, yes.
Yes, that's right. That's for second in the AMs, isn't it?
Yes.
But well ahead is Ian Humphreys, who's gone
Yes.
very well in this race.
Gone very well all season, really.
Yeah, leading AM. Although I don't think he can catch Ambrogio Perfetti, but he's doing exactly the same as Theo Egerton's doing. Everything he can, win the class, and he'll close up a little bit. But there's about 16 points between them.
Well, yeah, but at the moment, Perfetti's not on for any points because he's running. Well, actually, we've got to take account of those who don't score points. So he maybe, but he's running 12th in the class.
Oh right, so yeah.
But that's including the people who don't score points. So he's going to get a few points out of this race.
Yes. So yes, it's tighter, isn't it? In the
It
AMs?
is. Yes,
yeah,
that's right.
Certainly. So Ian Humphreys doing a good job to give himself the best possible chance. And we'll wait now to see them back in our sight. Here they come, leader through Farm. I'm interested to see whether Liddell can... Yes, absolutely, he can make an effort to get second. He's right behind Dorlin as they come up to Village. He goes wide into Village. Dorlin takes the tight line, so will that be a switchback for the loop? No, he doesn't. He stays behind James Dorlin as they come through the left-hander, and then second left at Aintree, out onto the Wellington Straight. And a good run through that section for Charlie Liddell, so he'll be probably going a little bit quicker as they come down towards Brooklands.
Noticeable that watching them on the camera as they came out of Aintree, that Charlie Liddell much neater line than either James Dorlin or Dino Zamparelli ahead and behind him. So very good considering this is his first outing in one of these cars. I mean, he's raced successfully in GT cars in the past, of course, as Ginetta champion, but nonetheless, he's driving a very impressively strong race, Charlie Liddell. Leader Theo Egerton completes his 6th lap. Then we've got Dorlin Liddell together, with Dino Zamparelli really dropping off the back of them, whether his tyres are going off, which is why his line through Aintree seemed to be a bit more lurid than those ahead and behind him. The lead, another new fastest lap by Theo Egerton, 2:21.553. His lead 4.3 seconds now.
Yes, you brought up an interesting point there, tyres. Because they get 6 tyres, don't they? And then 2 brought forward from the previous meeting.
Event, yes.
Yeah. So there is certainly some strategy on tyres, and you could be right. Maybe James Dorlin is saving his best tyres for the second race,
or looking after for this race as well. Whereas Theo Egerton is just going all out. I mean, his only chance of winning the championship is to win both races and hope James Dorlin doesn't finish.
Yes. Yes.
Or doesn't finish in the points. Well, at the moment, that's not going to happen, despite Theo's best efforts. 2:21.553 then his fastest lap. We've got 4 3/4 minutes to go.
A very lonely Ambrogio Perfetti coming through. Started late, and the leaders should be coming through Farm any moment.
Carl Cavers has dropped back in car 22. He's now running 5th in the AM class. Second of the AMs is Peter Chambers, and third of the AMs now is another Porsche veteran, Nigel Rice, who's been in the championship all year, number 15.
Well, the battle for second is coming through Farm, and Zamparelli not so far behind, but it's now in second place Charlie Liddell, so he's made his way past at the far side of the circuit, and James Dorlin thinks I'll have another go at you at the loop, but I suspect James is in the back of his mind is thinking what you're thinking, is he doesn't need to do any more than this, so he doesn't want to take any risks. They do run quite wide onto that curbing on the exit of Aintree, but a new second place, Charlie Liddell.
Yes, but Charlie doesn't. The other two do, you're right, but Charlie Liddell sticks to the tarmac. He's driving a very neat and tidy and quick race. Impressive stuff for his first outing in the championship. But Theo Egerton uncatchable this time around, but the second race may show something different. But Theo Egerton comes through. Time for 2 more laps, so 7 laps completed. Theo Egerton, another new fastest lap, 2:21.394 now, and his lead over James Dorlin is 5.5 seconds, 5.5 seconds. But in fact, Charlie Liddell, of course, is in second place, as Alistair said. James Dorlin now to third place, half a second behind.
They're coming up to Beckett's now, and certainly Charlie Liddell is still in second place, but James Dorlin snapping around at the back of the car, so he's looking for an opportunity, but I suspect it won't be one that he'll push too much. He'll just look for maybe a mistake from Charlie Liddell, but that's probably not going to come, because as you've said a couple of times, he's driving a really tidy race, made his way through both past Zamparelli and Dorlin now.
Yeah, coming down to Stowe Corner, Charlie able to move across, take the racing line through. They're two BRDC Rising Stars, these two, incidentally. Through they go, Stowe Corner. And Charlie Liddell just ahead of James Dorlin as they turn into club. But James isn't going. It's got to be a gift rat opportunity to take the place back. He's not going to force the issue at all, I wouldn't have thought, as you say, Alistair. So Perfetti comes through in last place, but may become penultimate when he gets ahead of number 77, who's just ahead of him on the road, 77 Charles Clark, who started at the back of the grid.
A big gap now between Charlie Liddell and James Dorlin. Right. So whether James made a small mistake and lost a bit of time, but when I say big, we're looking at maybe 3 car lengths as they come through the loop. And Zamparelli seemingly has given up the fight to pass James Dorlin because he's dropped way off the back of the silver and black car. Yeah,
it's interesting to know what we can't get to them after the race to find out what the tyres situation is, but I suspect this is a story of the way they use their tyres. And we may see the outcome of that in the next race. But the leader comes through Woodcote to go on to his last lap. Theo Edgerton, 8 laps completed, on to the 9th, and the time will be up at the end of the next one. Charlie Liddell goes through second, the gap first to second, about the same as it was on the previous lap, although Theo Edgerton has done another new fastest lap, but this is, I think, partly due to the improving track conditions, and he's the quickest man on the track. So each lap he does is going to be quicker than the previous one. 2:21.337 now. And he's a 5.5 second lead over Charlie Liddell.
Through Beckett's they go, and I'd agree with the improving track conditions. There's now a dry line appearing. It's been sort of that shiny sheen that you get when it's damp, but it's now, we got that grey line appearing. And we had a half spin from Price in the green car last time around at Aintree, just to show how slippery the track is. Just lost the back as he came through the left-hander.
On the last lap, because the last lap was his personal best lap, so it didn't obviously slow him up very much.
That must have been the one before then.
Oh, okay. No other changes in the order. Still the AM class headed by Ian Humphries and Ambrogio Perfetti in 12th place, still in the class, running in last place in the race, in effect, after his that one pit stop. And also having had a spin, Charlie March goes through, number 7 in 15th place. And Perfetti is he coming through? He's not, oh, here he is, just coming into Brooklands now, but at a very reduced pace, as though he's almost heading for the pits. Or he's going to nurse the car to the flag. He comes out of Luffield now. Yes, he's going to make sure he gets classified as a finisher, so he's carrying on, but you've got the leaders, Alistair.
Yes, in fact, the leader is already approaching Brooklands, but no change to the order. The gap's just getting wider now between the top 4.
Okay, so they've had that 20 minutes, and the leader turning through. It's been an impeccable race by Theo Edgerton. It's going to be his first win in the Cayman Islands Porsche Sprint Challenge of 2020, and comes through Woodcote now, and a very impressive performance by young 16-year-old Theo Edgerton. In second place in his first appearance in the championship, Charlie Liddell. In third place, the championship leader, James Dorlin, which I think will give him the championship, despite Charlie Liddell finishing, Theo Edgerton finishing in first place. Dino Zamparelli takes 4th. And in 5th place, and this is still to be decided going into the last race, I think, who wins the AM category. Ian Humphries in this race will win it. Comes through now, car number 27 in a very strong 5th place for an AM driver. Followed by a closing Peter Chambers, actually. Towards the end there, Peter Chambers, bringing the times down, did his best lap of the race on his last lap, as did behind him Nigel Rice, as the track got drier. So Nigel Rice finishes 3rd in the AMs, 7th overall. In 8th place, number 55, Daniel O'Brien. 9th place, 22, Carl Cavers. 10th, number 3, Mike Price. 11th, number 66, John Westbrook. And the rest still to come. In 12th place, number 56, Simon Green. 8th in the YAM class. And then next one through, in fact, is Charles Clark, number 77, getting ahead of Andrei Borodin on that last lap. But look up Borodin on Wikipedia and you'll find some interesting facts about him. The Sunday Times Rich List, I think he said he's the 7th richest man in the UK. Former president of the Bank of Moscow and various other things you can find out. Right, so the Porsches, no Porsches to be picked up from around the circuit. Let's just work out the points. So James Dawson in, I think, second place of the point scorers, and that'll give him, therefore, 18 points to add to his 93, which is 101 points. Theo Edgerton getting the full 20 for winning, puts him on 78. Plus 20 makes 98, I say plus 20 if he wins the next race. So I reckon that gives James Dawson the championship. But in the AMs, we've got all these who don't score points in between. So Ambrogio Perfetti will get some points out of that. Ian Humphries will go up to 98. It should be pretty close. We'll have to do that over lunchtime if there is a lunchtime workout, unless we're told officially by somebody from the championship.
Looking at the point scorers on the table, there's only 7 drivers here that score points, aren't there? Because Perfetti, Humphries, Rice, Chambers, Cavers and Westbrook are all here, and Mike Price.
So you're saying there's 7, and Perfetti was last of those. He was,
yeah.
So that gives him 7th place points, which are 2. No. Yeah, 2. Yes, 2 points. So I think that puts Ian Humphries in with a real chance of winning the AM class in the championship, because he gets 20 points, which is 98. Perfetti gets 2, which is 86. But that's all unofficial arithmetic. If you disagree, Alistair, please say so. I mean, I don't have any great faith in my arithmetic.
I'm just checking the. All I was checking was the points. 7th, 2 points. You're quite right. Is it 10? I think in the classes, isn't it 10 points for a win?
Yes, you're right. It is.
And then overall, it's 20. So I think it's 10 for Humphries, and assuming, as I think the 7 cars were all point scorers, and ignore the ones that aren't, Perfetti gets 2.
Yeah, we made him 86, and Ian Humphries gets 10, which is 78. So it is still Perfetti leading. Yeah, it's still on.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. What I do have for you, if you wish me to tell you now, is the new programme for today.
Oh, yes.
Which you probably haven't got because it's come on an email. 10 past 10 for 20 minutes, BRDC British Formula 3 Championship, race 2. Then 10:40 to 10:55, the Intelligent Money British GT Championship warm-up, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then unchanged, as you said, 10:55 to 11:15, the Act of Remembrance and the lunch break. And then we're racing through. So next up after the Act of Remembrance is 11:20 for 20 minutes, Pro Tire Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge Race 2.
Yeah.
11:50 to 20 minutes, the second Porsche Sprint Challenge GB, Cayman Islands race.
Yeah.
12:20 to 12:40, 20 minutes, the BRDC British Formula 3 Championship Race 3.
Yeah.
And a slightly later start for our GTs, 13:05 for 3 hours.
Yeah, 14:05 to 16:05.
16:05.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Well, the Formula 3 car's already coming out without delay, and let's just get the grid. Amended result of yesterday's race. This is based on a reverse of the finishing order, but the driver who was excluded from yesterday's race for punting out, Ulysse de Pauw, who therefore has lost any chance of winning the championship, which he had going into that race yesterday, The race was won by Caolan Frederick, whose driving was a little bit questionable at the start when he lent very heavily on Cush Maney, who wasn't at all happy with that, but had to settle for that. No action was taken. So the 17 drivers that took the flag are reversed, with the one who was 17th getting onto pole position. Ulysse de Pauw was, as I say, pushed out of the race by Rhys Ushijima, who was excluded subsequently and given some penalty points. So he doesn't benefit from the reversal. He has to start right at the back on the grid, therefore lines up like this. On pole position, 81, Max Maserati, and with him at the front, 21, Josh Mason. So 81 and 21, first and second. Third is 24, Benjamin Pedersen, and fourth, 71, Manaf Hijawi. 24 and 71, third and fourth. Fifth, number 18, Johnny Wilkinson, who finished third in the Ginettas, or would have been finishing third in the Ginetta Championship, but decided not to race Ginettas this weekend to concentrate on his new venture, which is moving into BRDT British Formula 3. So 18, Johnny Wilkinson, and 6th is 5, Carter Williams. 18 and 5, 5th and 6th. 7th is 17, Nazim Azman, and 8th, number 22, Piers Pryor. 17 and 22, 7th and 8th. 9th is 79, Sessakorn Chimongol, and 10th, number 50, Bart Horston. 79 and 50, 9th and 10th. 11th is 43, Josh Skelton, and 12th, 62, Oliver Clark. 43 and 62, 11th and 12th. 13th, number 26, Louis Foster, whose chances of winning the championship have now gone following yesterday's race, in which he finished 5th. And 14th, number 7, Roberto Faria. 26th and 7th, 13th and 14th. 15th is 14, Cush Maney, who is the only other driver in with a chance of taking the title from Caolan Frederick. So 14, Cush Maney, and 12, Ayrton Simmons, returning to the series in which he was third last year and won a couple of races at Brands Hatch on his only appearance in it this year. Number 12, Ayrton Simmons, finished second to Caolan Frederick yesterday. So 14 and 12, 15th and 16th. 17th is yesterday's winner, Caolan Frederick. And 18th is the unfortunate victim of another driver's exuberance, 55, Ulysse de Pauw. 8 and 55, 17th and 18th. And last on the grid, number 13, is Rhys Ushijima. So the car's now setting off on their formation lap. I'm assuming that everybody will have started on slick tyres. I don't know whether you would, what you'd regard as a damp circuit still, as to where you are. I mean, it's totally dry as far as I can see through Woodcote and damp tops.
I think there's patches of surface dampness, but I can't see anybody would start on anything other than slicks, because it's far too dry for wets.
Yes.
And they don't have intermediates,
no,
do they?
Don't.
No. So, yeah, it's going to be slicks. Did you receive Richard Randall's permutations email?
No.
Right. I mean, I'm sure you've been through this and you know this because you worked it out for yourself. But he said here, if Frederick wins the second race, he gets 36 points, and Maney will need to finish third to be within 35 points going into the final round.
Yes, he'll get 36 points, partly because he'll have got the points for winning, but also because he'll have overtaken so many cars, because you get fewer points for winning the reverse grid race, but you get a bonus point for each car that you overtake.
Yeah.
So if he was to, I think it's unlikely he's going to win. He hasn't actually shown the ability to come through from the back of the grid and win a reverse grid race this year. So I think the championship he's got to have, is it 11 points advantage over Cush Maney at the end of this race is basically what it boils down to.
Yeah, and what Richard has done is worked out all the different finishing positions for Frederick alone, just to show what Maney needs to do to take it to the final race. It's along the lines of, if, say, Frederick finishes 6th, Maney needs to finish 10th or higher to score enough points to keep it going. But it's always tricky with this second race, so Richard Randall will be emailing me the updated points ready for the third race.
So the race distance, 10 laps, but it must finish at 20 minutes. So you can get the 10 laps in. We even got 10 laps in yesterday, despite a safety car caused by the need to remove Ulysse de Pauw's car out of the way. So it may well go for 10 laps before the 20 minutes are up, even with a short safety car situation. So coming up to the grid then, Max Maserati is on the pole position. It's a 1-by-1 grid. Josh Mason, who won a couple of years ago, simply because it was a race that was started in pouring rain behind the safety car, and it was finished behind the safety car. They never raced, but because it was reverse grid and Josh had come last in the Saturday race, he was declared the winner. So he's at the front of the grid again, but there's no sign of any rain, so I don't think he's going to be able to hold his position up at the front. The quickest driver near the front, I suppose. Well, Nazim Azman has won a couple of the reverse grid races this year, and indeed last year. So Nazim Azman had an outside chance of the championship coming to Silverstone, but it was a very outside chance, and it's gone now. Piers Pryor, also a winner of a reverse grid race. He won the opening reverse grid race at Alton Park at the beginning of August. And going further back, well, do we need to go further? Is Johnny Wilkinson in with a chance of a podium position? But Cush Maney needs everything to play for, and he's certainly been driving some very forceful races recently to try and take the championship, in which he finished third 2 years ago. Right, red lights are on. Lights out, and a very good start from Josh Mason. He gets the lead then. A poor start by Max Maserati. So it's Josh Mason who has the lead in car 21 as they turn through Copse Corner for the first time. And as the camera pans around, the cold pack goes through, and everybody's safely through as the leader. Josh Mason comes into your sight, Alistair.
Yes, it is Josh Mason. Benjamin Pedersen in second place, and in third place looks like Manaf Hijawi. Fourth is Max Maserati, so his poor start dropped him 4 places. Then it was Johnny Wilkinson in fifth, and in sixth place Nazim Azman.
So the cars to keep an eye on, of course, 14 Cush Maney's silver car, and the blue car, number 8 of Caelan Frederick. But Ayrton Simmons might well have something to say about all this, because having won at Brands Hatch earlier on in the year on his only previous venture into the BRC Formula 3 Championship this year, he was a winner twice. Could have been a winner 3 times, but for the fact that his clutch failed at the start of one of the 4 races that they had that weekend to fit all the 24 races into the season, despite its late start at the beginning of August. So the cars now making their way up past the wing pits, the leaders turning into Abbey, but quite a lot of chopping and change. The whole point of the reverse grid race is to give them overtaking opportunities and see what the drivers make of them. And they're back with you, Alistair.
And it looks like Hijawi trying to go around the outside of Village past the leader, Josh Mason. In third place, looking across, Benjamin Pedersen. So they come past us now. Mason it is from Hijawi in second place, from Pedersen in third. And then the rest of the field going through. We were trying to look for Frederick there, but I'm afraid we missed him in the pack. So he's in a pack of cars that you'll pick up from the timekeepers. Okay. All very close.
It is very, very close, as you say. It's a feature of the reverse grid race as well. There's overtaking and running as a pack. They're side by side, the 2 leaders. Then Josh Mason fending off Benjamin Pedersen, but in the end going through. So it's number 71 who leads over the line. That's Manaf Hijawi. So the Jordanian driver leads from Benjamin Pedersen in second place. In third place is Josh Mason. Azman is fourth. Maserati fifth. Wilkinson sixth. Johnny Wilkinson seventh is Cush Maney. So he's making good progress. Cush Maney already has passed 8 cars. Then Bart Horson. Then Josh Skelton. Into the pits comes Piers Pryor, number 22. So of the 19th car in the pit lane, Piers Pryor.
Leaders go through, still a pack of 4 for second place, but Manaf Hijawi has started to pull away in the lead. And looking first of all for
Maney,
he is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8th.
Oh, he's lost a place from here then.
8th here, and
Frederick was 10th past here.
Yeah, Josh Skelton. No, we didn't. Frederick didn't appear on our top 9, so
must be 10th then.
Must be 10th, yeah.
So leaders coming into club for the second time, and a Jordanian leading, Manaf Hijawi. There's not been many Jordanian single-seater drivers, but Manaf has done the full season and has shown improving form all the way through. So the cars sliding their way across the curb coming out of club. And Manaf Hijawi then in the lead, but being reeled in, as you can see, Alistair. They're coming back into your sight.
Yes, coming up to Village, and he's being reeled in by Benjamin Pedersen, who goes for the inside at the loop and gets, I think this is going to work. He's going to have enough of an overlap to take the line through Aintree, and that pushes Hijawi wide, and that allows Nazim Azman to come alongside. So I think Hijawi is going to lose 2 places in 2 corners because Azman has got the inside for Brooklands. So I think you're going to see Pedersen first, Azman second, Hijawi third.
No, Hijawi hanging on to second place as they turn through Brooklands. So Hijawi is still second. He's led a lap. I think the first time a Jordanian has led a lap of a motor race in the UK. But there they are. He's lost the place now, though, as they came out of Luffield. So as they come through Woodcote It is now Benjamin Pedersen in the lead. Pedersen's first. In second place is Asman. Third is Hijawi. Fourth is Bart Horston. Maserati is still managing well in fifth place. Josh Skelton's sixth. And in seventh place is Johnny Wilkinson. Maney is eighth. Chimongol ninth. And we've had another pit stop. It's Josh Mason. Josh Mason, who was leading for a lap. He's come into the pits now, number 21.
So through past us at Beckett's, Asman in second place. Pedersen still leading. We're just looking for...
Kush Maney 8th and Frederick was 10th.
Strangely, we've got Maney in 9th here.
Every time he comes across the line, he loses a place by the time he gets back to you.
And did we catch Frederick?
I'm not sure.
Not sure.
Well, he was 10th past us.
Yeah. So well,
just ahead of Louis Foster. If you got 26 on your lap chart.
We didn't get that far down, I don't think, with them passing us here.
Duncan wasn't brought up on a diet of Formula Ford 1600 races around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit with 36 starters. But the car's running so close in a bunch, which is how we like to see the racing.
It's partly due to the size of the numbers as well. They are quite difficult to spot.
They don't stand out like they used to. That's right.
That's it. A lock-up for the second place car, and that will be still Nazim Asman coming into Village. And that puts him a little bit wide at the loop, and it allows the third-placed car, which is Bart Horston. Where's he come from?
He was fourth at the start of the lap.
Yeah, true. Yeah, fair play. He's now looking for second place.
Yes, Bart Horston was actually, he gained 4 places. He came from 7th to 4th, 8th to 4th on the previous lap. So he's making good progress, the young Australian driver, Bart Horston, who's been in this championship all season. But getting away with it now, Benjamin Pedersen, having started yesterday's race almost at the back of the grid, is now looking very strong with 3 laps completed, 7 to go. Asman is second, something of a specialist in these reverse grid races. Bart Horston then third. Josh Skelton must be watched as well. He's in 4th place. Chimongol is 5th. Hijawi is down to 6th. Maserati is 7th. Faria is 8th. Oliver Clark is 9th. And Johnny Wilkinson is 10th, and Josh Maney has sunk to 12th after that strong start on the opening lap or so. He's dropped down to 12th, and Kalen Frederick has dropped down to 14th, with Louis Foster dropping down to 15th. So an awful lot of shuffling went on that lap. Just about everybody changed their place apart from the first 2.
Yes, it's really mixed up. Just unusual, because we were expecting Maney to come through in around about a similar position. There's a big pack there. Perhaps somebody had a moment and just slowed others up in that pack of cars, which is great. As you say, reverse grid racing is all about overtaking, but the cars sticking together in that mid-pack very well indeed. Just the 2 leaders who are pulling away.
Josh Mason, I see, has rejoined. No, sorry, that's not Josh Mason. It's Piers Pryor who's rejoined, number 22. So Pedersen out front, and behind him, Nazim Asman coming under pressure from Bart Horston, who's driving to watch.
Yes, absolutely. He's right behind as they come out of the loop into Aintree. Similar position to he was last time. And he goes for the wide line. Asman goes for the tighter left-hand side of the track for Brooklands.
Simmons into the pits last time around, incidentally, so he's not going to feature in the top places. And a good battle then has joined for second place, but this all is helping Benjamin Pedersen to extend his lead. At the end of lap 3, it was 1.6 seconds. Now as they come through to the end of lap 4, it's certainly the same sort of margin, if not slightly greater. 1.6 becomes 2.3 seconds. Horston right on the tail of Asman as they go through. Then in 4th place is Chimongol, the Thai driver, up into 4th place. Faria up into 5th. Josh Skelton's dropped down to 7th. Maserati has dropped down to 8th. And then we've got Carter Williams, number 5, in 9th place. 10th is leader a couple of laps ago, Hijawi. Louis Foster is 11th. Johnny Wilkinson is 12th. Ulysses de Pauw is in 13th place. Kush Maney is in 14th place. And Kalen Frederick, just watching, keeping an eye on his opponent, is in 15th place.
How strange, they're going backwards.
They are. Yeah.
Very strange. Yeah, the leaders have been through, and you'll see on your cameras down at the other end of the circuit, Horston is not giving up on his efforts to get into second place. Really strong through Beckett's.
Right, so the championship situation then, Alistair, is Duncan able to give us a feel for what this could be then? If Frederick finishes 15th, he just gets hardly any points at all, but that doesn't matter so much. Kush Maney is not going to get many points for finishing 14th, is he? So,
well, the word from Richard was, if Frederick finishes 12th or lower, the championship goes to the last race, whatever happens.
Whatever happens.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Well, 15th is lower than 12th, so that means we will have a shootout right to the end. Lap time's coming down. Oliver Clark has just done an absolute best middle sector. Second sector, I mean. Third sector, Chai Mongol has done the absolute best, as has Ferrier. Ferrier is moving forward. We've got lots of time left. And the end of this lap, there will be 5 laps to go. So this is half distance. Leader comes out of Luffield. Benjamin Pedersen's lead at the start of the lap was 2.3 seconds. It's at least that this time through, I would have said. Asman still in second place. And it's come down half a second. 1.8 seconds. Pedersen to Asman. Horston is third, right behind the Malaysian driver. Then we've got Ferrier up to 4th now. Oliver Clark up to 5th. Chai Mongol hasn't yet come through in 6th place. No, it's now Williams is 6th. Carter Williams. Louis Foster is 7th. Josh Skelton has dropped to 8th. Maserati has dropped to 9th. Chai Mongol has dropped all the way down, lost 6 places, down to 10th. And a 5-second penalty for car number 21, Josh Mason, for not respecting track limits, but he's been in the pits, he's in last place, so makes a difference really. Goes through now.
What I did notice on the screen, it's gone now, but that both Maney and Frederick have got black and white flags for track limits. So somewhat strange, given that they're both relatively off their own paces. They're still using all the track and more. Oliver
Clark's got the fastest lap of the race now. He's in 5th place, but he gained 1 place that last time in car 62 in 5th place. This is now lap 6. And Oliver Clark and Roberto Ferrier, the Brazilian driver, has been getting better and better as the season's gone on. He only joined partway through the season, having moved over from the Formula 4 Championship. So you've got second and third passing you, I think, Alistair.
We have, yes, and be interested to see the relative gap between the leaders. Pedersen looks a little bit closer, or rather Asman looks a little bit closer to Pedersen this time around.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, so the gap came down from 2.3 to 1.8 last time through, so the gap is closing. And it seems to close even more now. I think Benjamin Pedersen possibly feeling the problems of lapping on your own consistently quickly when you're under no pressure, encouraging you to go quicker still. So Pedersen goes through. The gap's come down another 1/10 of a second. It's 1.76 seconds now, not 1.88 seconds. No change in the order behind. Ferrier is 4.5 seconds behind Horston, but he's just done the fastest lap of the race, Roberto Ferrier. And then it's Oliver Clark 5th, Carter Williams 6th, Louis Foster 7th, and then a gap back to Sasakon Chai Mongol, recovering a couple of his lost places from the previous lap. He's now back up to 8th, Josh Skelton down to 9th, and in 10th place, it's Max Maserati.
Leaders past us, no change to the order. Strangely, no change to the first 7 cars past you. So after all those switcheroos...
But you've got a lot of changes now from 8th downwards.
Yes, coming through.
Now, Kush Maney has dropped down to 16th place, and Caelan Frederick is 12th. Now, what was it Richard Randall told you? That if he finishes in the top 12, or is it the top 10, Caelan Frederick has done enough.
We'll give you that now. Right, where do you want me to see for
Caelan Frederick is 12th.
Right, okay. If Frederick finishes 12th or lower, so it's still going to the last
12th or
race.
lower, okay,
yeah,
right.
12th or lower. It's 11th and above that we start to need to know what Maney does.
Well, Maney's 16th at the moment, so you don't get many points for 16th.
No. Well,
no.
if, for example, if Frederick takes 1 more place and finishes 11th, Maney needs to finish 15th or higher.
Right, so at the moment he's looking as though he's not going to finish 15th. So it could be that we're about to see Caelan Frederick give himself the championship. Not there yet, but he's one place away from being a worthwhile points-paying position.
And you've got Asman and Horston, with Horston very close as they disappeared from my sight.
Yes, they are still close as they come out of Luffield, and the leader comes through to complete the 7th lap, 3 to go. And he's still Asman with Horston shadowing him. And then the next two, I reckon, are getting ever closer. Ferrier, their lap times confirm that. Ferrier and Clark running together at number 7 and 62 in 4th and 5th places are closing up. This time it's Oliver Clark's turn to do the fastest lap of that pair. He's now done the new fastest lap of the race. Behind them, in 6th place is Louis Foster now. He's got ahead of Carter Williams. So Louis Foster now 6th.
And Caelan Frederick, I think, has got past Ulysses de Pauw, so that puts him up to 11th. And starts to seal what you've just been talking about, which is the potential championship, depending on where Maini finishes.
Yeah, well, through goes Josh Skelton in 9th place. In 10th place is Max Maserati, having his best outing in BRDC F3 this year. He's done occasional races. Then we've got Caelan Frederick now, as you say, in 11th place, ahead of Ulysses de Pauw. And then this is where we're going to get Krushmani in a moment. Hijawi has dropped to 13th place. Johnny Wilkinson is behind Ushijima now, who's 14th. Piers Pryor is 15th. Ollie Wilkinson is 16th. Krushmani has dropped another place. He's now 17th. So whatever the problem is, its championship has gone, hasn't it? If they finish as they are now. Caelan Frederick 11th. Krushmani 17th.
And he's a fair way behind Max Maserati, about 8 seconds, and he's running about a second a lap quicker, so he's probably going to finish 11th, subject to everybody else not having problems, and that would mean that Maini must finish 15th or higher.
So he's 17th. So he's not going to do it, is he? It looks, well, Caelan Frederick's going to do it, and Krushmani's chances of the championship have gone if things stay as they are. But for him to sink down the order in the way that he has, clearly there's something not right with his car, maybe a consequence of some contact on the opening lap. But through the leader comes Benjamin Pedersen to complete his 8th lap. And then the next 4 are closing up. There's no doubt about it. Asman and Horston are being caught by Ferrier and Clark. So we could have 4 cars fighting over 2nd place. But I don't think any of them are going to catch Pedersen, although Pedersen's lead is now down to just 1.4 seconds, as you will see in a moment.
Yes, all coming up to Beckett's, and it's getting close to being a 5-car battle for the lead as they come through the sweepers. Still the same order as when they passed you. But, yeah, absolutely, that lead gap is coming right down as they go down the Hanger Straight once again into the gloom.
Yes, you've got this. The fastest drivers are Clark and Ferrier in 4th and 5th. The next fastest are Asman and Horston, and the slowest of the 5 is the leader. And the new fastest lap to Roberto Ferrier, 1:57.384 last time around, is 2 seconds quicker than the last lap by Benjamin Pedersen. That's a big difference. And we are now on the 9th lap. 1 more to go after this one. As Caelan Frederick through right on the tail of Max Maserati. Now he's caught him right up, and he's got a Caelan Frederick's been passed by Piers Pryor, but he's probably eased off now, switched off, just bringing it home. He's in 12th place. Now 12th place is not good enough, is it, Alistair, for Caelan Frederick? He's got to be 11th or better.
Yes, if he finishes 12th or lower.
Right, well, he's 12th.
Yeah, so
the
very strange.
He was touching the championship. Now he's got to go on to the last round because he's been passed by Piers Pryor. So Caelan Frederick now 12th.
Well, Benjamin Pedersen has managed to stave off for another lap the 4 cars behind him, but those 4, Asman, Horston, Ferrier and Clark, very close indeed. But Pedersen, I think, will probably have a similar gap to last time.
Right, we do actually have now 4 cars together for 2nd place. They haven't quite, as you say, they haven't quite caught Pedersen. So Benjamin Pedersen goes over the line to take the start of the last lap. Pedersen leading by just 1 second now from Asman, Horston, Ferrier and Clark in that order. They haven't changed order yet, but they could well do so somewhere around this final lap as they make their way now out of Copse Corner, up the brow into Maggots, into your sight, Alistair. Here they are.
They're here, yes. Pedersen is much closer. Asman is much closer, isn't he, to Pedersen? And they come out of Beckett's. No change, still the 2 white and red cars behind, and then the all-red car of Clark in 5th as they head down to Stowe Corner.
Yes, no change in the order yet, but there's attempt being made by Clark to pass Ferrier. They're side by side for fourth place as they come into Stowe Corner, but still just staying ahead is Roberto Ferrier. So no change in the order, but the gaps are narrowing all the time. Now into Club Corner. And it is still the same there, but another attempt by Oliver Clark to pass Roberto Ferrier, but it's still the Brazilian driver ahead of the British driver as they come into the international pit straight, then side by side for fourth place. Out front is still Pedersen from Asman from Horston, and then Ferrier and Clark as one.
And up to Village they come, and Pedersen has been caught, very nearly caught, by second place Nazim Asman. In third place Bart Horston, still snapping at the heels of Asman as he's been doing for many laps now as they go through Aintree. Then in fourth place is Ferrier, then Clark at the back, so no change in the order, and I think Pedersen probably has enough of a gap to take the win.
Yes, unless he makes a mistake, which isn't looking likely. He's driven a cool race and a bit of a pincer manoeuvre there. And it looks as though Horston has gone through and taken second place at Brooklands on this final lap. So as they come out of Luffield, it's still Benjamin Pedersen who's in front as they come through Woodcote Corner and up to the checker flag. The win is going to go, the first one of the year for Benjamin Pedersen. He takes the flag first. In second place is Bart Horston, taking the place at Brooklands on the final lap. Asman is third. Fourth is Roberto Ferrier. Fifth is Oliver Clark. And best of the rest is disappointed, obviously, from yesterday's race. Louis Foster takes sixth place. In seventh place is Carter Williams, being reeled in by the flying Thai driver. Saskon Chaimongol takes eighth, number 79. Ninth will be Piers Pryor, but there's a long gap before he comes through. But Piers Pryor should be ninth, number 22, followed by Josh Skelton. But Caelan Frederick has really dropped off. Curious performance by both Caelan Frederick and Cush Maney. Through Woodcote, taking the checker flag there is number 12, Ayrton Simmons, a lap down after his pit stop. Now in ninth place, 22, Piers Pryor. 10th should be 43, Josh Skelton, but he seemed to be falling back. Is that Max Maserati who's taken? No, Josh Skelton there, 10th place, Josh Skelton. And in, who will be 11th? Max Maserati. Caelan Frederick, number 8, comes slowly, not very slowly, but certainly not at his normal full racing speed that we saw yesterday. Caelan Frederick takes 12th place. Ulysse de Pauw, after the trials and tribulations of yesterday, finishes 13th. Mana Fijawi takes 14th, Reese Ushijima 15th, 16th is Johnny Wilkinson, and 17th is Cush Maney, who started 15th, so he gets no passing points. Caelan Frederick started 17th, but finished 12th, so he gets 5 points for that, doesn't he? But, Alistair, what is your...
Well, the key thing is, if Frederick finishes 12th or lower, the championship goes to the final race. So it's still mathematically possible for Cush Maney to win, but it may be mathematically possible, but it's going to be more difficult because Frederick finished a few places ahead and got some passing points as well. So they needed to be within, Maney needed to be within 35 points of 34 points of Frederick.
And he is within... So the winner, Benjamin Pedersen, for the first time this year. Bart Horston, a strong second, just 0.737 of a second behind in second place. And Nazim Asman in third place, 0.4 of a second behind Bart, with Ferrier and Clark right behind them as well. So 5 cars in that close bunch. As then, whether we're getting on the replay any indication of whether damage was inflicted on the cars of Cush Maney and Caelan Frederick in that race. Not so far as we can see it. Copse Corner. More on the opening lap through Maggots and Beckett's. That was how Josh Mason was tipped into a spin at Luffield, or half spin. And sliding wide there, Louis Foster on the opening lap. That dropped him down the order and did a spin at Village. Yes, one or two cars having spins, but I think everybody's brought their car through to the flag. So the 19 starters, one or two made pit stops, but the 19 starters all made it to the flag. And we've got the third race for them of the weekend coming up later. So now, any moment now, the GT cars will be coming out onto the track for their 15-minute. Yes, they're still getting their 15 minutes under the revised timetable. So the outcome of that, we reckon, subject to what further information Alistair may be provided with, is that Caolan Frederick has all but won the championship, but not quite. Well, to the best of our knowledge, there are no particular problems amongst the GT cars that will keep them out of the warm-up. So I think we should see all cars out on the track, all 37 of them. Tremendous entry for this final round of the British GT Championship. There's quite a few cars that aren't eligible for scoring points, but all the regulars obviously are here. In fact, there are 8 of the GT3 entries are ineligible for points. All the GTC entries, nice to have a good 5 cars entered in the GTC class for challenge type cars. Ferrari Challenge, the Porsche Carrera Cup, Porsche Super Cup, Lamborghini Super Trofeo, those sort of cars are eligible for the GTC class. And there's 3 cars in GT4. The ones that aren't eligible for points, of course, be classified as finishers in there, wherever they do happen to finish. Something else to bear in mind, we mentioned this again before the race gets underway, but the result of the second Snetterton race decides the success penalties that are applied to the cars that finish in the first 3 places in the categories. And so that means that the winners of the second Snetterton race, Phil Keane and Adam Ballon, will have to spend an extra 20 seconds at the third of the mandatory pit stops, stationary for longer than everybody else. Second in the second Snetterton race at the beginning of October were Michael Igoe and Andrea Caldarelli, so they get 15 seconds. And third, the championship leaders, Sam Dehaan and Patrick Kujala, who have an extra 10 seconds, and the same principle applies in GT4, where the class was won by Jordan Collard and Patrick Mathieson, so they get an extra 20 seconds in car 58. And then the TF Sport Aston Martins were second and third. Jamie Caroline, Daniel Vaughan's car, number 97, they get an extra 15 seconds, and Patrick Kibble and Conor O'Brien get an extra 10 seconds. Pit lane speed limit, incidentally, 50 kph. Cars will be making their way out onto the track any moment now. Winners this year, well, in the opening round, it was this new team that has been set up, Jensen Team Rocket RJN, with Bob Neville and Jensen Button. And Jensen, we're delighted to have as an entry this weekend to share a second Jensen Team Rocket RJN McLaren 720S with his old mate Chris Buncombe. So they're driving car number 3, and their car that's been in every round of the championship, won at Alton Park, came close to winning at Brands Hatch, is the number 2 car shared by James Baldwin and Michael O'Brien. Cars now making their way out onto the track, having qualified yesterday in separate groups. AMS and then Pros, GT3, then GT4, and GTC going with the GT3s. They're now all on the track again, they were in free practice together. So a very crowded track it's going to be. But the modern technology means that TSL can tell us who's in any given car, as long as the driver, when he gets in, remembers to flick the switch, which is a matter of habit now for most of them. So we've got in 24 Ross Wiley, but this is only going to be a very brief. Most of them will come in and change drivers during the session. That's the one car that has 3 drivers in it, actually, number 24. One of the GT Challenge cars, the Simon Green Motorsport Ferrari 488 Challenger of Lucky Carer, Lee Frost and Ross Wiley. Ross, the pro in that car. The other Berman's out in the number 6 Mercedes. John Dillon in the number 13 Ferrari. Sam DeHaan in the 69 Mercedes. Mike Ligo in the number 18 Lamborghini. Richard Neary in the number 8 Mercedes. Andrew Howard in the number 7 Aston Martin. Lauren de Meus in the number 15 Ferrari. Tom Canning in the number 38 Aston Martin. Lewis Proctor in the 96 McLaren. Jack Mitchell in the number 10 McLaren. Sean Balfe in the number 19 McLaren. The car that won this race, or won the last round of the championship last year, which was actually at Donington Park, a 2-hour race. But we've had our Donington races this year. And who else do we have? Jensen Button is out in the number 3 McLaren. Mark Crader in the number 68. In the 68 McLaren, Martin Kodrich has started the session in the number 11, the additional 2 Seas Motorsport McLaren for this weekend. Martin Kodrich driving that car. And I'm glad to say that all 37 cars are out on the track. Just about the last to join in is the number 1 Aston Martin number 1, because of course it's driven by Johnny Adam, who with Graham Davidson won this championship last year. Johnny concentrating on trying to win the GT AM class with Charlie Eastwood of the World Endurance Championship, which will be have its final round next weekend at Bahrain. They also won the class at Le Mans this year with Salih Jolic, the Turkish driver. Qualifying lap times, well, we have aggregate times actually, because you add together the best driver's best time in each of the 2 segments of qualifying. And we were seeing, well, the best lap in qualifying was by Phil Keane, no surprise there, at 1:57.162. The second best time in qualifying was by Charlie Eastwood at 1:57.352 in car number 7. And the third best time was set by Jelmer Berman in the number 6 Mercedes, 1:57.647. That was yesterday in the qualifying sessions. Well, James Baldwin is setting the pace in this session. 2 minutes 1.017 in the number 2 McLaren. Jenson Button in the number 3 McLaren just behind him, 2 minutes 1.328. Then Sandy Mitchell with Rob Collard, contenders for the championship, number 78. And they are the fastest pair in qualifying, so should start from pole position. We don't have a grid sheet officially published until after the warm-up. So Sandy Mitchell is third fastest at the moment, number 78. Fourth is number 11, Martin Kodrich. Fifth is number 6, Jelmer Berman. Sixth is 19, Sean Balfe. Seventh quickest, 96, Lewis Proctor. Eighth, number 30 in the Audi, Senan Fielding. Ninth, number 38, Tom Canning. And 10th, number 26, which is Matt Manderson at the wheel of it at the moment. In GT4, the fastest time is by Conor O'Brien in the 95 Aston Martin. Then 57 Chris Westmail's McLaren. And then James Kell in the 23 Toyota Supra. Adam Ballon in the 72 Lamborghini. They've got an outside chance of the championship. Adam Ballon and Phil Keane. He's just done a lap at 2 minutes 3.229. Jelmer Berman goes quickest in the number 6 Mercedes, which he shares with Ian Loggy. 2 minutes 0.411 seconds. From Lewis Proctor, number 96, 2 minutes 0.734. Then it's Baldwin and Button. Then Sandy Mitchell, 5th. Jenson Button into the pits, presumably to hand the car over to Chris Buncombe. So each of them gets a drive, like most teams will do. Give both drivers a chance to see what the track's like today compared with yesterday. Although hopefully the drying out process will have been complete by the time the race gets underway at the slightly later time. It's only a few minutes, but now 1:05 rather than 1:10 is the scheduled revised time. And what's up with car 77, which we pick up on the screen? That being the McLaren of Brendan Iribe and Ollie Milroy, which is going well in Ollie's hands yesterday. Iribe is the driver of it at the moment. It's had a puncture. The left rear tyre is flailing. This is at Stowe Corner. Well done to the marshals for pushing the car out of harm's way, meaning the session can continue under waved yellows at that part of the circuit. That was Brendan Iribe. To have a tyre puncture this early in the session, it normally doesn't happen until late in the race, but anyway, must suggest he ran over something. Alistair? No.
No. Just watching the fog coming in. Significantly worse at this end of the circuit than it was 10 minutes ago.
Nice to see that Tunnock's caramel wafers are getting a mention on the back of Sandy Mitchell's helmet. I don't know about you, Alistair, but I rather like Tunnock's caramel wafers.
Very much so, yes. My favourite chocolate bar,
that
actually.
got you excited, didn't
it?
it?
Oh, absolutely.
If you look at the back of Sandy, we just had a picture of him there strapping Rob Collard into the car.
What, 4 million made and sold every week.
That's what it says on the label.
It does. They also sponsor still do, I think, sponsor the Tour of Mull rally up in Scotland on the Isle of Mull.
Oh, right.
Very, very enthusiastic as a company.
I know when you go to Scotland, go to Knockhill, they there's another type of tunnocks. Is it caramel logs or something like that they call them? That they're now there's a new product on the market in England now, I think.
I don't think we're allowed. Are we allowed them in England yet? Because I've seen those.
Well,
up
the
in
new
Scotland.
product. I think, I saw it being advertised on TV. Yes, got very excited.
Working their way south.
Right. I think they've had their money's worth out of us now. I haven't got any here. I know when we used to talk around the touring cars at Knock Hill, we used to get, or Alan Hyde was given them and was generous and distributed them fairly, given a box full of Tunnocks caramel wafers.
Well, I have one in my lunchbox, so I'll eat one for both of us.
Thank you. Yeah, so Sandy Mitchell, of course, from Scotland, where those biscuits come from. Fastest time was set. It still is the time set by number 6, Yalma Berman. He's now handed over to Ian Loggy. Lewis Proctor is in the pits in the 96 McLaren, which is second quickest. Presumably hand over to Ollie Wilkinson. James Baldwin has handed over to Michael O'Brien, the number 2 car. Chris Buncombe has taken over from Jenson Button in number 3. Rob Collard, as we saw, in number 78, now in place of Sandy Mitchell. And then 6th quickest is number 11, now with Faisal Al-Zubair at the wheel, in place of Martin Kodrich, who set the car's time. GT4, what's going on there? We've got the fastest car, the number 21 McLaren, Ewan Hankey, at the wheel of it, from somebody we've seen already today on track, James Dorlin, quicker to the silver GT4 drivers in the car number 98. But since it's his only driver of the year in the championship, he's not eligible for points. As far as I can tell, looking at the screen, every car seems to be going through their program. Oh, that one isn't. Into the gravel has gone the number 38 Aston Martin. And that is Giacomo Petrobelli, who was having a really good day yesterday, considering he hasn't raced since 2014. But trip up the curb, sent the car offline, sliding across the track. And the car with Lucid written on each door is now very much in the gravel, which means yellow flags. How long have we got? 3 minutes to the end of this 15-minute warm-up session. But 38 didn't hit anything. I think Petrobelli is down to start the race and won't be doing any more laps now in this session, which is nearly at an end, and his car is beached in the gravel, but no damage done to it, just a load of gravel for the team to get out of it.
There's a red flag now, Ian.
That'll be, I think, probably because of that. I'm not sure there's any other reason.
No.
But we're near the end anyway, so I don't suppose it's going to be restarted. But also with an eye, the organisers with an eye on the clock. They don't want to be eating up valuable downtime between the two sessions by recovering a car, so stop the session slightly earlier. Buys them a bit of time. Yes, confirmation the session won't restart. Well, the times are more or less what I gave to you earlier, but just to run down the first few in each. In GT3, the fastest time of anybody in the session, number 6 Ian Loggy, but the time some way slower, about 3 seconds away from what they were in qualifying yesterday. The time done by Yelma Berman, in fact, Ian Loggy's co-driver, 2 minutes 00.411. Second quickest, the number 96 McLaren, Lewis Proctor, 2 minutes 00.734. Ollie Wilkinson barely got going in the car. In number 2 McLaren, Michael O'Brien has taken over from James Baldwin, but I don't think he's got many laps in, so it's James Baldwin's time, 2 minutes 1.017. Fourth is Jenson Button's time in number 3, but Chris Buncombe's taken the car over now, 2 minutes 1.328. Fifth, number 78, Sandy Mitchell, 2 minutes 1.694. Sixth, number 11, is the time of Martin Kodrich, 2 minutes 2.246. Seventh, the number 26, Aston Martin, Matt Manderson, 2 minutes 2.322. Eighth, the number 10 McLaren, Jordan Witt and Jack Mitchell. I think there's a Jack Mitchell time. There's 2 minutes 2.406. Ninth, number 72, Phil Keane and then Adam Ballon, 2 minutes 3.229. I think it's only Adam Ballon who went out in the car actually in the session. And 10th, number 19, which was Sean Balfe to begin with, became Rob Bell, but I don't think Rob's done a flying lap in the car. And the car's time, 2 minutes 3.436. There's the top 10, whatever you read into that. Then in GTC, the fastest, number 17, the Porsche driven by welcome returnee Tim Bridgman, with a 2 minutes 6.544. Second in GTC, Ross Wiley in the number 24 Ferrari, 2 minutes 8.813. And third in GTC is a long way down. It's the number 15 Ferrari, Jamie Stanley, 2 minutes 23.827. That's not going to be a Jamie Stanley time. I suspect that'll be his co-driver, Laurent Demius. And in GT4, the fastest Ewan Hankey, as I mentioned before, number 21, McLaren. Second in GT4 Silver, well, first in GT4 Silver, second in GT4, taking the two together, is the 98 Aston Martin. That was a James Dorlin time, although Alex Toth-Jones took the car over before the red flag, 2 minutes 13.306. And third of the GT4s, James Kell in the Toyota. Fourth, Patrick Kibble in the number 95 Aston Martin. Fifth, 66 Mercedes, Scott Mulvin, Nick Jones. And sixth, the number 57 McLaren, Chris Westmail, Gus Bowers. Right, so their race will be starting at 1:05, slightly later than scheduled. And next we must be ready. So it will be PA, no more from me or from Alistair for the moment. The build up to the commemoration service and the 2-minute silence.
Remembrance this year commemorates 75 years since the end of the Second World War. We spare a thought for the young men and women who operated from this very location, and especially for those who departed RAF Silverstone, never to return. We remember those who fought so valiantly in all conflicts throughout the world up to the current day, many of whom still suffer mental and physical trauma as a consequence of their service to their country. Mission Motorsport, the Forces Motorsport charity, whose motto is Race, Retrain, Recover, is committed to using motorsport as a vehicle for recovery for our wounded, injured and sick, and works closely with the automotive and motorsports industries to find employment opportunities for former service personnel. For the act of remembrance today, Mission Motorsport is represented by former British Army officer Major Stephen Lees and former British Army infantryman Privates Parr and Jay, who between them have spent more than 5 years on operations from the Balkans to Iraq and Afghanistan. Our uniformed personnel are represented by serving soldiers from the 3rd and 4th Regiments Royal Logistics Corps, who are marching the length of the pit lane bearing wreaths. We are delighted that British racing driver Jenson Button will also be laying a wreath on behalf of the teams competing here today.
On this, the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II, we commit to promoting partnerships between nations, that all people may, together, live in freedom, justice and peace. We remember all who in bereavement, disability and pain continue to suffer the consequences of fighting and terror. We remember with thanksgiving and sorrow those whose lives in world wars and conflicts, past and present, have been given and taken away.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. On the going down in the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them. Wreaths will now be laid by Julia Sawyer on behalf of Silverstone Circuit. Jenson Button on behalf of the drivers and teams. Corporal Smee on behalf of soldiers of the Royal Logistics Corps. When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today. Let's go racing.
Well, thank you very much, everyone involved in that, and for all of us for observing the remembrance of the armed forces and all they have done for us, both at home and overseas particularly. Well, we go racing now with the Ginetta GT5 final round, and it could not be closer. Let me just get my bits of paper together and we'll tell you what the situation is in this Ginetta Championship. We've done our arithmetic. This is all based on our own efforts, nothing official from Ginetta. But what it appears is that going into this final round, there's 1 point between the top two in the championship. So effectively it boils down to who finishes in front of the other one. The championship leader coming to Silverstone was Josh Malin, who had a 7-point advantage over James Taylor. But as a result of yesterday, with James Taylor winning the race, he goes up to 362 points, and Josh Malin is, after finishing third, on 361 points. So that's what I mean by it being everything to play for in this final race in the championship. And where have they qualified? Side by side on the front row. This is based on their second best time set in qualifying. And the grid's going to line up like this. Pole position being on the left-hand side of the circuit, looking towards Copse Corner, and is occupied by Josh Malin. And with him on the front is in car number 90. And with him on the front row is number 64, James Taylor. So the front row, number 90 and 64. On the second row, we've got 27 John Bennett and 48 Gordy Much, whose chances of the championship now have gone, although with Johnny Wilkinson electing to race in the Formula 3 races rather than continuing Ginetta for this final weekend, Gordy Much has got ahead of Johnny in the championship by 313 points to 304, but there's not enough points available for Gordy to have a chance of the championship. So on row 2, 27 John Bennett and 48 Gordy Much. On row 3, we've got number 19 Tom Golding, this year's Ginetta G40 Cup champion. And beside him is 66 Magnus Krikliwi. 19 and 66 is row 3. Row 4, number 59 Nat Hodgkiss and 84 Blake Anglis. 59 and 84 row 4. Row 5 is 25 Rory McKean and 29 Ashley Marshall. The cars coming out now to take up their places on the grid. They'll then get a green flag lap for a normal standing start at the end of that. So row 5, 25 Rory McKean and 29 Ashley Marshall. Row 6, 47 Dan Budd and 63 Oliver Allwood. 47 and 63 row 6. Row 7, 77 Conor Garlick and 24 Richard Tetlow. 77 and 24 row 7. Row 8, number 10 Karim Sekert and 81 Phil McGarty. 10 and 81 row 8. And the back row, number 16 Bal Sidhu and 8 Ian Duggan. 16 and 8 completes the grid. Ian Duggan, despite having a difficult day yesterday, didn't do any laps in qualifying, problems with the car, came from the back of the grid to be challenging for the lead of the AM class, and then fell back again, but nonetheless he has secured the AM class before this weekend actually. And so it's the main championship between Josh Malin and James Taylor that we are looking forward to. And Alistair may be able to supplement what I'm saying, which is basically, Alistair, it's whoever comes first, who finishes ahead of the other, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. It depends if they're down in the lower end after, where are we? 9th place, there's only 1 point between the scores. But anything above that, there's more than 1 point between the scores. So you're absolutely correct, whoever finishes ahead. There's a point for fastest lap. So there's 1 extra to be given there. But once you get down to 9th, it's 1 point between each position.
Well, if you go on to countbacks, Josh Malin has had more wins than James Taylor.
Yeah, which would, in the case of a tie, give it to Malin, yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, Josh Malin has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins. And James Taylor, including yesterday, has had 3 wins. So it's very much the countback would favour Josh if it gets to a tie. But as you say, yes, down at the bottom end. But I think it's rather unlikely they're going to end up finishing. If they're finishing at all, it's not going to be in the teens, I don't think, somehow. So the car's about to be released onto their green flag lap. And this has been reduced to 20 minutes, this race, instead of the original 25 that they had yesterday. Cars now setting off on their green flag lap then. Right, so how's the track looking, Alistair? Is it dry now completely?
I would say so, yes.
Down your way?
Completely dry. What has changed is the fog has come back in, but not to the point where we can't race, obviously. But looking down towards Stowe, where we could clearly see the Stowe grandstands through the mist, so it was never completely clear, but now they've gone again. and we've also lost completely the wing. So I can just see the Exeter farm, and that's about as
You've
far
lost the wind, Alistair.
the wing, yes.
What do you take for it?
Yes, the wing, as in wing pits. So yeah, it's significantly foggier than it was at the beginning of the morning after we got going, and that lovely sun that was poking
Gone
through
away, hasn't it?
disappeared.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It heard that you were about to complain about the sun in your eyes and thought, right, I won't come there then.
Well, it was quite challenging yesterday, but we got through it. But today, nothing like that at all, just this wretched fog or mist that is kind of returning, but there's still plenty of visibility. You can still see the whole of Luffield. And, well, see everything I saw earlier on, looking down towards Copse Corner. Just, yes, you can see cars turning into Copse. Not now, because they're on their way around the circuit.
They're at farm at the moment,
Yes.
Yes, we've got them coming up to Village now and doing their customary weaving to get some heat into their tyres. And up to the loop and the main, as you've already said, the two championship contenders sitting first and second in this queue.
Yeah, yesterday it was what you saw on the first lap, wasn't it, between the two of them, going
Yes.
through Maggots and Beckett's.
Yeah.
That they, you felt that Josh Malin stuck on the outside line a little bit too long and was therefore lost speed and dropped a few places.
Yes, and ultimately, because he couldn't recover those places, I think it cost him a point or two. But yeah, it seemed to me that they were side by side, as you described, all the way through and up to Maggots. But at that point, it seemed that James Taylor had the right line for Beckett's because he was on the inside of the circuit. And Josh Malin just stuck it out around the outside and ended up just rattling across the little bit of grass that we have there on the apex of the middle element of Beckett's.
Yeah, and Josh, he dropped down quite a few places,
Yes,
didn't he?
he did.
And then recovered very well to third place. He didn't get the fastest lap, actually, because John Bennett has been going better and better as the season's gone on. One of the young drivers in the championship these days, as indeed are the other two, James Taylor and Josh Malin. He was never going to be caught once Josh Malin recovered to third place. That was as good as it was going to get. He ended up 3.2 seconds behind John Bennett, who was just 1.2 behind James Taylor. So John Bennett, obviously not well placed in the championship. Where do we reckon he is? 7th after yesterday on 176 points. So he could still improve his championship position, but he's gradually worked his way into the season and has been going very well in the last 2 or 3 rounds and is becoming a serious contender. If he carries on in this championship next year, he's a possible winner of the championship, I would say. He may even be a winner of this race. Anyway, they're all back now. Green flag waved at the back. 20 minutes, not 25, 20 minutes of racing ahead of them to decide the outcome of the Protyme Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge for 2020. The lights go out. The cars accelerate towards Copse Corner. And in front, they're both in front. They're side by side as they turn in on the inside line. James Taylor has the benefit of that corner, but then they get up to Maggots. That's a left-hander, and it may well be that you will describe Josh Malin taking the lead.
They're going side by side into Beckett's. Very, very similar to last time, but this time Josh Malin was a fraction ahead, so he managed to take the line. So Malin leads, and a big spin for Blake Anglis, no, the yellow and Rory McKean, my apologies. Rory McKean, a big spin, so he's right at the back.
And Gordy Much is snapping at the heels of James Taylor as the cars come onto the hanger straight for the first time. But as you say, trying to break the toe by a bit of weaving, Josh Malin's not going to work, though. So Josh Malin leads, as you say. Right behind him is James Taylor. Then Gordy Much is in the mix as well. And John Bennett coming up to challenge as well in car 27. So it's those 4. It's nearly 5 because I think we've got a 5th car, Magnus Kricklevy, joining in, or could be Tom Golding actually. 3 abreast, they are into the first part of Club Corner for the first time. And Gordy Much it is who's drafted his way into the lead. So Gordy Much in the white car with the blue back end comes out of Club Corner in the lead. So they obviously watch the Formula 3 drivers because this is getting as frenetic as that was. So as they come out of Club, go up past the wing for the first time. It's Gordy Much, number 48, from the second row, who has the lead at the moment as they turn through Abbey and come back into your sight in the moment, Alistair.
Yes, they're coming up towards us, and yeah, we can see that stripe on Gordy Much's car leading. Second place looks like the blue flash on the side. That's Josh Malin. Then it's the all-white car of James Taylor in third place. Fourth looks like Tom Golding with the grey flashes down the side. And then Magnus Krickleby, easy to pick out, in sixth place. In fifth, just ahead of him, that's Tom Golding, sorry, it was John Bennett in fourth place. Yeah. So off they go down the Wellington Straight for the first time, under the bridge, disappearing into the gloom.
Well, Gordy Much may not be able to win the championship anymore, but he's certainly looking determined to win this final race as he turns into Brooklands for the first time. He has the lead just from, in second place, Josh Malin. And as they come out, they're down to 4 in the leading group now as they come through Woodcote for the first time. Gordy Much leads. In second place is number 90, Josh Malin. In third place is James Taylor. In fourth place is John Bennett. That's the leading group. And then behind them, Magnus Krickleby in fifth place. In sixth place, Tom Golding. In seventh place is 84, Blake Anglis. In ninth place is 59, Nat Hodgkiss, and in 10th place, Ashley Marshall.
And Josh Malin takes the lead as he passes Gordy Much coming out of Maggots into the Beckett sweepers, and it's Malin that leads out of Beckett. Second place Much, third is the all-white car of James Taylor, and a spin for our fourth leading car. That's John Bennett, and he's facing backwards now. He's turned it round actually on the last element of Beckett's, the spin. Yeah,
well, he's not going to feature now in the top 3 results like yesterday, so a spin born of inexperience, I suggest. So 3 for the lead it is, with Josh Malin now in front, as Alistair says. So Gordy Much in second place, and in third place, James Taylor. Well, it means that, yes, in third place, James Taylor. It means that John Bennett is no longer a factor to be considered. And round the outside goes James Taylor to take second place, round the outside of Gordy Much as they turn through Club. Yes, he's into second place. So 64, James Taylor is now second. But in the lead, and if he stays there, he wins the championship, is Josh Malin. So Josh Malin, 64 in second place. James Taylor in third place is Gordy Much after that strong opening lap. Then quite a gap back to the next pack of cars coming through, headed by Krickleby. But you've got the leaders.
We have, yes. And the leader, Josh Malin, has managed to break the toe to the car behind James Taylor, who was rather busy getting past Gordy Much, wasn't he? So now James Taylor's target is to try and close that gap to the leader, Josh Malin. Gordy Much isn't giving up. He's staying close behind Taylor. Then the leading car in the second group is Tom Golding from Magnus Krickleby from Blake Anglis next up. That's 4, 5, 6.
So Gordy Much in third place as the cars turn through Brooklands and up to Luffield. And as you suggest, it looks at the moment as though Josh Malin may well have broken the toe. And as they come through Woodcote for the second time, he's got several lengths lead. We'll get the official gap in terms of time as they go over the line. And the gap first to second is 0.6 of a second, Malin to Taylor. Much is third. And then Tom Golding is up to fourth. Magnus Krickleby is fifth. Then it's Anglis, Hodgkiss, Budd, Allwood and Richard Tetlow complete the top 10. And a car that's come to a halt out on the circuit, the Marshal's going to its assistance, number 29, Ashley Marshall, who was running in 10th place.
And James Taylor, with Gordy Much behind him, has caught the leader now, Josh Malin. So that slight advantage that Malin had built up and the toe broken is now reversed. So the top 3 going down the Hanger Straight, absolutely locked together.
Are we on for a Silverstone type finish to this championship? Well, I think we are, because they're 3, as you say, absolutely together. And pulling out of the slipstream there is James Taylor to run alongside Josh Malin as they turn into Stoke Corner. And it's still Josh Malin by sticking to the racing line, but going round the outside of him there. James Taylor tries for the lead round the outside, and they're side by side as they go into Vale. Now, as they come up to Club, it is on the inside line, taking the left-handed bit. James Taylor gets the lead. Yes, so James Taylor takes the lead from Josh Malin, with Gordy Much watching and waiting to see what opportunity presents itself. He's drawing up alongside Josh Malin now. So the lead is James Taylor. Second, just slotting in behind James Taylor, is Josh Malin. And in third place, it is Gordy Much, having briefly held second out of Club. But now into Abbey It's Taylor leading. Malin is second. Much is third. And they're back in your sight.
They are, yes, coming up towards Village and hard on the brakes. Nobody, yes, well, yes. Malin thought about the inside, but there wasn't really room. So it's Taylor still leads from Malin from Much as they come through the left-hander at the loop. Good battle going on. 5 cars in the Group 4 third place as well behind them. But the leaders coming out onto the Wellington Straight. And James Taylor leads from Josh Malin from Gordy Much. It's all very, very close. They're all slipstreaming, so anything could happen at Brooklands.
Yes, down they come towards Brooklands. It's 64. James Taylor then who leads. This is the third lap. We've had a different leader at the end of each lap. Now is James Taylor going to be able to hang on to this lead that he took halfway round this third lap? Coming through Luffield then to the end of lap 3. Like one car they are as they come. Tremendous sight this is. Formula Ford with full width bodywork through Woodcote then and across the timing line. And as they go over the line, it's Taylor, Malin and Much. Best of the rest in this great gaggle is Cricklivy now ahead of Golding, Anglis, Hodgkiss and Budd. And then 9th is number 63, Oliver Allwood. And in 10th place, still number 24, Richard Tetlow.
And thinking about a move into Beckett's, Josh Malin for the lead, but drops back behind. So the three of them just follow through the sweeping corners, although Gordy Much very close behind Josh Malin as they leave my sight and go through Chapel. And then the next 5 cars go through the last part of Beckett's. And as you say, Magnus Cricklivy, I think now leading that group, having got past the Tom Golding, who has been racing in other forms of Ginettas this year.
Now, the difference between first and second, you get 35 points for a win, 30 points for second place. There's a point for fastest lap. And at the moment, the fastest lap is set by Josh Malin, but that won't make up the deficit between first and second, which is 5 points. So at the moment, James Taylor then is leading the championship on his way to the championship from Josh Malin, but I'm sure it's not going to stay like this, the order as it is at the moment. Taylor ahead of Malin with Much watching in third place. And a 4.5 second gap indeed between Gordy Much and Cricklivy in fourth place. Cars turning into Abbey then. Still James Taylor leading. I think Josh Malin has probably decided the tactics now should be to sit in second place and draft your way past on the last lap. Back in your sight.
Into Village they go, and he closes right up on the brakes and up towards the loop. Is he going to go for the inside? He takes a wide entry and he's going to go for a tight exit, which takes him through Aintree, but there wasn't room to get through, so he jinks back in behind. And Gordy Much gets a much better run, so he's now almost pushing Malin as they go down the Wellington Straight.
Yeah, so down the Wellington Straight, then the 3 cars tied together as one, coming down towards Brooklands then. Still, it's James Taylor leading. Josh Malin is second. Gordy Much goes for the outside into Brooklands. The left-hander be on the inside for the right-hander coming up at Luffield. That could give him second place. Still the lead is James Taylor. They're side by side for second. Josh Malin runs wide and through into second place goes Gordy Much. So Gordy Much is now second. And the lead at the end of the fourth lap for the second successive lap is held by James Taylor. Second is Gordy Much. Third is Josh Malin, who went a bit wide at Luffield, opened the door for Gordy to go straight through. And they turn into Copse Corner now. Behind it's Cricklivy, Golding, Anglis, Hodgkiss, Budd, Allwood and Tetlow still. And the leader's back with you, Alistair.
Up to Maggots they come, through Maggots into Beckett's, and it's still Taylor. Oh, Much very quick. How did he do that? He just swept straight past James Taylor on the run into Beckett's.
Because James Taylor had a wide line, I think. That's how it happened, yes. So the door was kind of open for Gordy.
So that's the change again then. Gordy Much leads from James Taylor from Josh Malin. Will that allow Malin to have a go at Taylor, perhaps into Stowe?
Well, it could be. Down the Hanger Straight they come. So it's the Scottish driver in the lead, 48 Gordy Much. From 64 in second place, James Taylor. And in third place is Josh Malin. And the difference between finishing second and third is 4 points. So even with the fastest lap to his credit, which is actually now gone. No, it's gone to John Bennett, the recovering John Bennett after his spin at Beckett. So John Bennett has now set the fastest lap. The point going with that. Leaders coming out of, I'm getting a replay here of how Gordy Much took the lead. And meanwhile, the race goes on, and they should be back with you, are they?
They're just coming through Farm, yes, and it's still Gaudy Much leading. It's almost 3 abreast as they come into Village. Who's on the outside there? That's Josh Malin, so he's got ahead of James Taylor. So the order now is Much, Malin and Taylor as they come through the left-hander at the loop and on through Aintree. So Much, Malin, Taylor as they leave us, and then it's Crickleby leading the next group from Tom Golding from Blake Anglis, and Hodgkiss at the back of that group.
Well, although Gaudy Much is in the lead, of course, the fight continues between the two championship protagonists for second place in the race. It has now gone back in favour of Josh Malin. The fastest lap still in the hands of John Bennett, and the point he is currently in 11th place, but it'll probably be better than that by the time they get to the end of this next lap. Coming through to the end of lap 5, 7 3/4 minutes to go. The lead held by Gaudy Much. He's had wins already this year, but yesterday's result meant that he's not in with a chance of taking the title, but he's determined to win the race if he can. Turns through Copse Corner, Much, Malin, Taylor. Crickleby still fourth. The order behind, in fact, is still the same. Crickleby, Golding, Anglis, Hodgkiss and Budd.
So can Malin do to Much what was done the reverse way last time around? No, he can't, because Much keeps his line through Beckett. So it's same order, Much, Malin, Taylor, then Crickleby, Golding and Anglis as they go through Beckett's and away down the Hanger Straight once again.
Yeah, Gaudy Much has won twice this year. He won at Donington Park. And here they come as looking like one car again, but it's Gaudy Much's car in front with the stripe over it, and coming up alongside him as they turn into Stowe Corner, going round the outside and taking the lead. So Josh Malin takes the lead from Gaudy Much into Stowe. Nice line, nice racing line round the outside to take the lead from Gaudy Much, with James Taylor on the tail. And now as they break for Club, side by side, almost exchanging paint, no contact, impeccable driving by all three of them. I hope that's not saying the wrong thing, but at the moment they are driving immaculately. No body contact, driving, no swerving around, very fair driving. And Gaudy Much switches to the inside of the road as he comes up towards Abbey and takes the lead back. So Gaudy Much has the lead, and through on the inside, James Taylor takes second place, and so down to third falls the leader at the start of the lap, Josh Malin.
Indeed, yes, it is Much who leads into Village from Taylor from Malin as they turn through the right-hander up to the loop. Half an opportunity here for somebody. No, they all stay in line and they come through the tight left. Then Crickleby. Is Crickleby catching them? I don't know, it's a pretty big gap, isn't it, over 4 seconds. So the leader's down onto the Wellington Straight, and it's still Much, Taylor and Malin under the bridge.
And there in the gravel, I'm afraid, and it's going to be yellow flag there, is Tom Golding. Tom Golding has spun off. He was going well. He was in 5th place, but I'm afraid this year's G40 Cup champion is out at Club, at the first part of Club. He has gone off into the gravel. Leaders through Woodcote to complete their 6th lap. We've got 5 1/4 minutes on the clock. And the order over the line then is Gaudy Much, James Taylor and Josh Malin. The 3 cars covered by less than half a second. James Taylor, I think, has got the lead now as they head up towards you, Alistair, but Gaudy Much is coming up alongside him on one side and Josh Malin on the other.
Well, it's actually Malin in the lead, and Much and Taylor are side by side behind him. So as they sort themselves out eventually in the middle of Beckett's, it's Malin that leads from Much from Taylor and away once again down the Hanger Straight. A very good opportunity now into Stowe, I think, because they're so close. The 2 behind will be getting a tremendous tow.
Yes, so that was Josh Malin who moved from 3rd to 1st from Copse, between Copse and Maggots. So he's got the lead then. Gaudy Much is 2nd into Stowe Corner, and I guess they'll be into a yellow flag zone in a moment. And as they turn, because that's where at Club Corner Tom Golding went off. We're now without timing page. Yes, so yellow flags at Club as the cars go through, headed by Josh Malin from Gaudy Much from in 3rd place, James Taylor. And now through Abbey. How long have we got? The screen will tell me in a moment when it's woken up again. And we've got 3 3/4 minutes. So this lap and one more. Back with you, Alistair.
And it's Malin, Much and Taylor through Village. Now, I thought Much was going to go for the inside at the loop there, but he backed out of it. And as they come through the loop, it's going to be still, doesn't lose any time there. Malin leads from Much from Taylor down onto the Wellington Straight once again. And under the bridge they go, and a good slipstream for Much in second place.
Well done to the marshals down at Club. They've got Tom Golding's come out of the way. So no yellow flag should be necessary at Club Corner anymore. And we'll have time for 2 more laps at the end of this one by the looks of things. As they come out of Luffield then, there'll be more than a lap time left on the clock by about 20 seconds. So through would they come in the lead, number 90, Josh Malin. In second place, Gordy Much. Third, James Taylor. 0.787 of a second covering all 3 as they turn through Copse Corner. Gordy Much making a bid to retake the lead as they come into your sight, Alistair, for the 8th time.
And into Beckett's once again. I think Malin's going to hold on to it. Much not close enough. Taylor, a watching brief now. He's not staying right under the rear wing of Gordy Much as they go through Beckett's out onto the Hanger Straight once again. Much very, very close behind Malin. Once again, a good opportunity perhaps into Stowe Corner after a good slipstream.
Yes, the problem for Much, for Malin, I suppose, is if he gets too defensive to hang on to his lead, that's slowing him down and allowing James Taylor, who was dropping back a little bit, to get back up behind Gordy Much and be part of the battle for the lead, which he is becoming once more as they go through Stowe Corner. So it is still the lead held by Josh Malin, challenged by Gordy Much on the outside line, turning into the left-handed part of Club Corner. They're side by side just about, with James Taylor right behind now, trying to get his way through onto the inside line for the right-handed part of Club Corner. But Gordy Much is going to be able to get the inside line, and he's going to be able to take the lead. Is he there side by side as they come out of Club Corner? Josh Malin has to go over the curbs to hang on to that lead, but only just, or has he succeeded in doing so? I think Gordy Much may well have it. They're side by side into Abbey, and also now side by side. Gordy Much has got the lead, side by side for second place between the 2 championship contenders.
And it's Taylor on the inside and Malin on the outside for Village. And they're still side by side as they come through Village. But Taylor eventually prevails. And he almost has a bit of a go at Much there as well. But I think in the end, Malin was obliged to back out of that. But now they're side by side going through Aintree through the left-hander. Absolutely side by side. The 2 championship contenders, and on the outside was Taylor, and he went on the curbing and got a bit of a sideways moment there, so he's lost a little bit of momentum, and Malin goes back into second place.
He's lost momentum, but he hasn't lost the toe from Josh Malin, so those 2 have now dropped back a little bit from Gordy Much, and they'll be going through this time to start their last lap. So out of Luffield comes Gordy Much. Has he got the race now after those chopping and changes of position on this lap? Has Gordy Much now established himself in a sufficient lead to be able to stay? Yeah, I think he has. The battle for the championship is now a battle for second place in the race. So Gordy Much has the lead by 1.1 seconds. That's the largest lead that anybody has had since the start of the race, I think. In second place is Josh Malin. In third place is James Taylor. That's the championship battle. The race, I think you'll agree, Alistair, is now going to go the way of Gordy Much.
I think so, and I think Malin needs to be really concentrating on his mirrors, not on what Gordy Much is doing, because he's got to keep James Taylor behind him as they go through Beckett's and into the last element now, the right-hander, and it's still Malin in second place, but Taylor right behind. Who is in the better position when you think what's coming up? The long Hanger Straight and a good slipstream.
Well, they say you should never start, if you want to win, you shouldn't start a last lap at Silverstone in the lead, because your rival will slipstream past you. And James Taylor bobbing about from side to side. He gets into the toe. He gets alongside there side by side in second place as they go through Stowe Corner. But eventually, as they come out of the corner, Josh Malin has the place back. So Josh Malin is in second place. Gordy Much is out in front. Josh Malin is second. And that's what matters. He's ahead of James Taylor. James Taylor then through Club Corner in third place. He's dropped back a little bit. Briefly, he looked as though he might be able to take the lead going through Stowe, but having failed to do so, he's now fallen back a length or so from Josh Malin. So it's Josh Malin second, James Taylor third, Gordy Much is clear. This is the last lap.
Coming through Farm now, and as you say, Gordy Much well clear now up to Village, one of the last opportunities perhaps to set up for a pass on the Wellington Straight, and James Taylor trying to close up as much as he can on Josh Malin as they come now through the left-hander at the loop. Much comes through, runs wide over the curb, as does Malin in second place. Then it's Taylor in third, but if you were going to put your money on anyone for the championship, it would be Malin now, because he's got 2 or 3 car lengths lead.
Yes, I think he's got enough of an advantage over James Taylor. James going to have to get a great big slipstream toe as he comes down Wellington Straight. Not done so. So it does look as though Josh Malin has done enough. They're going through Brooklands up to Luffield. Gaudy Much is going to win the race. Gaudy Much comes out of Luffield in the lead, closing up on him a little bit. Certainly the gap first to second is less than it is second to third, I would say, as they come through Woodcote for the final time up to the checkered flag. The race goes to Gaudy Much. The championship goes to Josh Malin, and James Taylor finishes in third place. And charging along behind them, Magnus Kritlevy, he's never going to catch them in the time available, but he was going very strongly there, finishing in fourth place. The fastest lap of the race goes to Josh Malin on the last lap. This is subject to John Bennett not going any quicker on the last lap. In fifth place, we had 59 over the line, Nat Hodgkiss. In sixth place, number 84, Blake Anglis. In seventh place, number 47, Dan Budd. In eighth place, number 63, Oliver Allwood. In ninth place, number 25, Rory McKean. And in 10th place, recovering after that spin to 10th place, number 27, John Bennett. 11th, number 77, Connor Garlick. 12th, number 8, Ian Duggan, who wins the AM class, had already taken that class in the championship anyway. Richard Tetlow finishes number 24 in 13th place. In 14th place, number 10, Karim Sekert. In 15th place, number 16, Bal Sidhu. And in 16th place, number 81, Phil McGarty, with Tom Golding and Ashley Marshall being the 2 spinners into retirement. So the championship then to Josh Malin, and deservedly, in the sense that he got the point for fastest lap as well on the last lap of the race. He set the fastest lap at 2:24.386, which is just a fraction of a second quicker than John Bennett's fastest lap yesterday, which was 2:24.394. So Josh Malin was just 0.634 of a second behind Gaudy Much at the flag. And yes, the impression I had, which was the gap first to second, was less than the gap second to third. It's only a fraction of a second, but the gap second to third, 0.737 of a second. The gap Much to Malin first to second, 0.634 of a second. So well done both to a delighted Josh Malin. It'll be a disappointed James Taylor, but that was a very fairly fought fight. The sort of racing we'd like to see, close racing, drivers respecting each other. There was no weaving around unnecessarily. There was no bumping, door handling. It was all very, very clean racing. And Gaudy Much, good to have him in there at the end, even if he wasn't going to be able to take the championship. He did all he could today to, he got the didn't get the fastest lap. Who did get the fastest lap? Well, got the fastest lap, of course, was Josh Malin, wasn't it? Right, well, we get our breath back and look towards what's coming up next, which is the Porsches again.
Well, I have to say, Ian, that was one of the races of a very short season, admittedly, but certainly one of the races of the season on a number of counts. One, it was great close racing for the win of the race, but championship as well was the icing on the cake, and the good driving. I wholeheartedly agree with you there. Really, really good quality driving from, well, everybody in the race, but particularly the 3 leaders.
It just shows, doesn't it, that that ought to be, will be videos of it. It ought to be shown to some single-seater categories where the drivers behave like idiots and weave around and generally misbehave. But that just shows you can have great racing, particularly on a circuit like Silverstone, where there's lots of space to do it. You can run side by side through corners. If you drive in a sensible way, respecting your opponents and on the limit, and they were right from, we're just seeing a replay of the first corner, and they were side by side there. And you could count on more than one hand the number of times when they were running, 2 or 3 of those drivers running side by side into corners and not making contact. So impeccable performance by the Ginetta GT5 brigade. So Porsches will be out next. There's only a couple of Ginettas to be collected. Now this championship we think has been decided in favour of James Dorlin. Who, by finishing third in the earlier race, picked up 16 points. And so the gap between him and 16 plus 93 is 109, I think. And Theo Edgerton's win gave him 20 points, which puts him on to 78. So I don't see how you can, I think the championship has been won. Anyway, the grid will line up, the Porsches coming out now, based on their finishing order in the earlier race, like this. Theo Edgerton taking his first win of the year in very impressive style as well. Lines up on pole position in car 54, and number 9, Charlie Liddell, making his first appearance in this championship. The former Ginetta GT Super Cup champion lines up at the front of the grid as well on the 1x1 grid basis. 54 and 9, the first two on the grid. Third on the grid is 32, the champion-elect, James Dorlin, number 32. And fourth on the grid, number 88, Dino Zamparelli, 32 and 88, third and fourth. Fifth is 27, Ian Humphries. And sixth, number 5, Peter Chambers, 27 and 5, fifth and sixth. Seventh is 15, Nigel Rice, and eighth, 55, Daniel O'Brien. 15 and 55, seventh and eighth. Ninth is 22, Carl Cavers, and 10th, number 3, Mike Price. 22 and 3, ninth and 10th. 11th, number 66, John Westbrook. And 12th, 56, Simon Green. 66 and 56, 11th and 12th. 13th, number 77, Charles Clark. And 14th, 99, Andre Borodin. 77 and 99, 13th and 14th. 15th, number 7, Charlie March. And 16th, number 51, Ambrogio Perfetti. 7 and 51, 15th and 16th. And at the back, a driver whose first race didn't last very long. I'm afraid he spun off on the first lap, wasn't it? Or second lap at the latest. Number 8, Adam Knight, completes the complete grid, the full grid there, as we had for race 1. And I don't know about your fog, Alistair, but ours has gone completely, I would say.
Sorry, say that again, Ian.
I was just asking about your fog.
Mm.
Yes.